He's co-starred with Johnny Depp in Black Mass, Liam Neeson in A Walk Among the Tombstones. He's played foil to Denzel Washington in The Equalizer, and on August 5th will star alongside Will Smith and Viola Davis in Suicide Squad. Yet, it's his recent turn as Sheriff Jim Hopper in the Netflix sensation Stranger Things that has everyone talking. Actor David Harbour joins We Are Live to talk the crazy success of Stranger Things, an outlook into Season 2, and becoming the next new leading man in Hollywood. Enjoy. And welcome back to We Are Live.
We are live. Chris Denman, Travis Terrell here on a Tuesday. Very, very pleased to be joined by the one and only David Harbour. You know him from all kinds of good stuff. I love it. We're the same height. I've got a massive respect for the tall guys holding it down. Wow. That's right. Hey, you put those stats up on IMDb. I'm going to gravitate to those, man. Me, you, Jason Segel, Vince Vaughn, all the tall guys got to stick together, man. What's up, David? How are you?
Yeah, wow. I'm good, man. I'm all right. I'm kind of holed up here in my apartment, nursing an Achilles tendon surgery. But I'm all right.
How in the hell do you find time to rest? Because you are a pretty busy man. You got a busy weekend.
Yeah, I know.
Got Suicide Squad, of course, coming out this weekend. And then, of course, the great success from Stranger Things.
The hacks that he has to speak to because this damn Netflix thing took off on the weekend of his big release.
I know.
Yeah.
I think my body couldn't handle it, and it just snapped my Achilles tendon because of all the excitement over Stranger Things. I just got so excited. I was jumping around or something.
How does that happen? I mean, as far as, did you expect perhaps this to take off the way that it did, or you had no idea where this could go?
I mean, I thought it was going to be good when we were shooting it. I thought it was going to be good. But then I saw it at the premiere, and I saw some cuts of it, and then I thought, holy, this is really, really good.
Right.
And then when it came out, I thought it would be critically sort of acclaimed, and then I thought, people would like it. But the fact that it's blown up the way that I think it has, I mean, I don't really know much about, being in a hit show or anything, but I guess we're a hit show because, when those articles come out about like what character are you at Stranger Things, it just feels like it's one of those shows where you're like, oh, wow, like we just became one of those shows. And it's so exciting. And I mean, one of the most gratifying thing about it is just that I feel like people reach out to me and because they're genuinely moved by the story and by the characters. And it's not because it's cool and it is cool, but it's just because they're genuinely moved, and you feel that in what they're saying. And that's all I've ever wanted to do as an actor. And I feel like it's taken so damn long for me to be able to do it. But I feel like we finally did it. So
listen, Harbour, I'm not going to believe you for a second that there aren't surveys out there asking what rake character you are. You've seen, you're telling me you haven't seen this kind of success before?
No, I really haven't.
No
really
Law and Order. Yeah,
funny. Like,
no, it's fantastic.
You know what's funny, man? It's really funny. You know what's funny too is like you have. I don't know if you guys have it, but you got your cell phone and you got like, you got like a million numbers in your phone, right, of which you text like 10 of your friends, right? But then you got all these other numbers in your phone, and you're like, I'll never call that guy, but I'll leave his number there. And suddenly, like this Stranger Things come out, and all these numbers in my phone are like people texting me like, oh my God. Like, wow, I never thought I'd hear from you again.
Right.
You just saw my show. And it's like, I've done a lot of TV shows and I've never had, Joe Schmo from wherever deli that I met 3 years ago, but like he suddenly is texting me.
Let's get together.
Like,
we should totally write that. Yeah.
Exactly, man. Hey, man, I really want to see you. Like, wow, it's strange. It just coincided. No, you really, yeah.
What has been your favorite part of this entire process? I mean, it's the way the show has come together, and the writing and the nostalgic feel, and of course the child actors are just absolutely amazing.
Amazing.
How has this process gone for you?
It's just one of these like magical things. It's funny, like the shooting was not so much fun. I mean, like such
a beautiful locale, though.
I knew. Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's sort of the reason why we chose it. We were in Atlanta, and it does look like the '80s. You know, those outdoor sequences where the kids are riding bikes. Like, you can't find things that are sort of untouched. You have to go to these places. But I don't know anybody in Atlanta, and I was just kind of like, playing this guy who's kind of messed up, and it was just kind of miserable. I mean, it was a really tough shoot for 5 months being down in Atlanta, and like,
oh wow,
smoking cigarettes. I was just like a miserable kind of guy. And then to see it all come together, and then to finally see what we were doing, and then to have this response is like, that's the most fun part. It's sort of weird with, when you get to do plays, you get to have that response every night.
Right.
But when you do this stuff like this, it's like you're sitting there slogging through it for 5 months. And you're like, oh, I don't know. And then it comes out and you're like, that's when the real satisfaction comes. And so this has been the most satisfying part, really, is just seeing it all come together and seeing people touched and affected and psyched about what we're doing. And then thinking, wow, we may get to go back and like explore these characters more and really dig in deeper. Now I feel like we know what we're doing, and we can like really get back in there and take it to the next level. So that's like what's gratifying about it.
No, that's insane to think that, because I mean, you say that with the theater stuff. We talk to comedians all the time. I'm trying to think. JB Smoove, who's on Curb Your Enthusiasm, was on about a week or two ago, and was just talking about how movies, he's like, you just forget about them, and you think you're 20 times better by the time that they come out. Whereas, the live stuff, you get to do that.
Yeah.
With a 5-month process. Are you happy with your performance in that? And then how much better do you think, if you do get to go back and explore these, how much more involved or is there any difference in what you would do with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, I actually am really happy, and I never say that. Like, I think,
After
I really
being hard on
like,
himself,
I don't
no.
like a lot of what I do, and I yeah, exactly. But this, I'm just, part of it was that we all gave ourselves the freedom. It was funny. I was talking to the woman who does hair on it, and we were talking about when we first conceived the character. I was like, look, I want this guy to be like messed up. Like, I don't want to look like crap. I want him to be kind of, like have these love handles and just have this hair that's like miserable and this beard and like dark circles under his eyes. And we were shooting it. And like she said, about like halfway through, she saw some piece of coverage or something. She was like, I don't know about this anymore. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. We were like, I don't know if people are ready for like such a messed up individual as their like leading man. So one of the things that I always sort of come up against when I watch myself is my own narcissism. I'm always like, oh, I'm so ugly or whatever. Like, and this, I'm like, I just feel like I really relaxed into the idea of just sort of being the kind of broken fucking dude that I am. Right. And like really letting people see that, as opposed to being afraid of that or being like, I have to be better than people or something. Like, you sort of feel that as like when you do movies and TV, that suddenly people think that your life, first of all, they think that like you're rich, and then they also think that like your life is amazing, and it's like the parties all the time. And it's like you're not, like you're just as broken and messed up and as questioning of like what it means to be alive as anyone else. And so the fact that I was able to play a character who was a heroic leading man, but who has that sort of struggle in him, was just, it's fun to see a guy like that on screen. And sometimes I even forget that it's me. Like the first time I watched the episode 8, is this a spoiler-free podcast?
Dude, hey, do whatever you want. You talk anything you want.
Can we spoil? Okay.
Yeah, spoiler alert. There it is.
Like at the end. Okay, spoiler alert, everybody. Spoiler alert. At the end of episode 8, I did find myself alone in my apartment watching the scene where we save Will and doing the thing, and when he gets up and after he breathes again, and I was like crying, and I said, he saved that little boy. He saved
you didn't
that
say
little
that.
boy, like out loud to an empty room. Out loud.
Nice.
Now, is that
Very strange.
top life moments because you believed in yourself so much, or is there a little bit of, oh crap, I'm alone and I just did that?
It's both of them. I'm a weird lonely man talking aloud to an empty room, and also like, holy shit, I did a good thing. Yes, both of those moments all at once. Like the greatest moments in life, they're also quite humiliating.
Oh, you're absolutely right, and that's the thing where it's like, man, I'm really glad my girlfriend from senior year of high school wasn't awkwardly walking into the room as I said that alone to myself, because you don't need an audience for that kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so true, man.
Now you talk about this, but you've been on a roll lately. Let's be honest. You're the Equalizer, Black Mass. You got Suicide Squad. Now you have Stranger Things blowing up. This has got to be a fun run, though, for you. You're working alongside some great creators, some great writers, some great actors.
Yeah.
Is there any? And of course, one of my favorites, and I wish, and you probably hear this more than enough. I wish, of course, we got more seasons out of the Newsroom, but because you did great work in that as well. But is over the last few years, what has just simply been the moment that has stood out the most for you?
I mean,
besides right now, obviously, on this show in St. Louis.
Yeah, besides right now. I mean, a lot of it was like, being sort of getting to a certain level where I was able to learn things that I could never learn before. Like, I mean, The Equalizer, like working with Denzel Washington and just watching him work was like truly, it changed my acting. Like it definitely made me, I sort of understood, because, you watch him in movies and it's so extraordinary. And then you watch him in the room when the camera's there, and it doesn't seem like he just understands what the camera picks up, and he understands how to be kind of a bad student as well. Like there's a lot of times when you be on a set and some DP will tell you that like the light here is really good, so if you could keep in this light, or if you could like keep your hands like down out of the frame, and he would just be like, he wouldn't listen to any. He'd be like, you light me where I go. Like he was very particular about keeping his process the most important process in the room, which I feel like we watch movies to see characters. I mean, we watch movies and like lighting and great shots and all that stuff is really important, but it's not important if there's no life on screen. Like the worst thing I think you can hear about a movie is like, how'd you like that movie? And somebody's like, it's okay. It's really well shot. And you're like, that's what you like, you know what I mean? Like that's probably the worst movie, because you're like just sitting there going like, wow, that's a beautiful shot of the crane and the garden, but you're not paying attention to the story. Right. And I think like the thing that was amazing about Denzel was like he was so interested in story, and he's so interested in character, and it's just like in his being, and he's just so specific about what he does. And I talked to him a little bit, but I didn't talk to him that much. I don't even know if it's just in his blood. I mean, he's conscious of a lot of stuff, but I don't even know if he's just in his blood, just a storyteller, and he doesn't even think about it. But that was really amazing just to watch him work. Wow. Another really gratifying experience was I did this movie called A Walk Among the Tombstones with Liam Neeson. Yeah. With my friend Scott Frank, who made it, where I got to play this villain, and that was a really fun journey. And I felt like we took some risks with that movie. It didn't really pay off; like nobody really saw that movie. But I still think it was another throwback to another time of these like 70s. It was sort of based on Dirty Harry, and like it was based on these kind of 70s gritty crime thrillers. And I think there's a swing back, even with Stranger Things, like a swing back to this more magical time of storytelling where I don't know maybe it's that we've gotten cynical, or it's become about money, or it's become about catering toward like 12 and 13-year-olds. Right.
I think that's a huge part of it.
The fact that, is that what it is?
I agree with you. I think that's a huge part of things, because you see these things and I'm like, am I getting old? We're both 32, Travis. I'm thinking, am I getting old, or is this just awful? I wonder that sometimes. And
I know. I wonder it too. Like, were movies better in our day, or are we just old? Like, am I just the old guy who's like, this music you kids listen to is terrible, the rock and roll? But but I genuinely do think there was a more earnest, coming out of the film that we created in the 70s, like even these guys who they call, the apocalypse bringers of the blockbuster, like Spielberg and,
Right.
Coppola and stuff. But even those movies, even though they were blockbusters, they still were interested in like movie magic, like E.T. and like there was magic to that movie. And I feel like nowadays we care a lot about how in shape you are.
Right.
We care a lot about your abs. Like we care a lot about these other things or how cool you are, but we don't care enough about those magical moments that make us reflect on our lives and that really touch us. And so I feel like, Tombstones was some sort of attempt at, this throwback to this 70s crime thing, which had its own sort of magic.
Right.
And now Stranger Things is a real throwback to this innocent time where stories can just be earnest.
Right.
Like we can just be earnest. We don't have to be cool. We can just be earnest.
That's what I was thinking. We've talked about it quite a bit on the show, just as everyone, as you know, is talking about Stranger Things. And we were curious about that as well. Being the age we were wondering, are we being mesmerized by some magic from our childhood that we're just into this? And then we kind of decided, no, good's good, and
Okay,
we're
good.
and we're yeah, right, yeah. Hey, just wanted to put that out there. You were part of some smoke and mirrors operation. No, it's
Yeah, I know.
it's pleasing to see that. And another part I liked about it was that anymore, a lot of times there's not any foreplay as far as a monster's concerned, and there's people getting their eyeballs ripped out, and it's all just about the grotesque and getting into it. Whereas with Stranger Things, it allowed you all to act, it allowed the story to breathe, and there was some of the monster, but it certainly wasn't the focal point.
Yeah. I agree. I love it. Like I genuinely love it in a way that I don't love other things. Like I like other things. I definitely go to movies or TV shows. And I'm like, oh, I like that. But I genuinely love this, and I probably maybe more so if I wasn't in it, only because I am self-conscious when I watch myself. But to be honest, like I've been waiting for a show like this that just moves me. Like that final episode. I mean, at the end of episode 3 too, when you find the thing. But then that final episode when all that stuff happens with 11, and she says goodbye, Maya, and then the whole thing with me and the kid, and I mean, and you see the flashbacks, and like. I genuinely cried, and I've been so sort of hardened over the years to not get manipulated by movies, because I feel like, the ones that are trying to be moving are trying to manipulate you. But this, I was genuinely like, oh, you guys are just revealing something beautiful about life through this sci-fi context, and I'm down. I love it.
No, absolutely. Was there anybody in particular that you pulled from for the character? Of the sheriff that you played?
I mean, I grew up with all these 70s and 80s movie stars, leading men who I feel like, again, I don't know if I'm old or whatever, but I feel like there was a grittier quality to them.
Yeah.
Okay. But there was like, even like certainly like Jack Nicholson in 5 Easy Pieces, like that's, or Nick Nolte in anything really. And then like you have Harrison Ford, and like, the big ones we talk about on set too, is we talk about Han Solo, talk about Indiana Jones, and like, the thing about Han Solo is you go watch those performances, and like he was doing stuff in those movies that nowadays, like, I don't think studio execs would let you do. No. Like the choices that he makes, like there's one choice in Empire Strikes Back where he just like this dude is like, we can't find Luke, and he just unleashes on this dude in a really inappropriate way. But like Harrison Ford's kind of an angry dude, and it's awesome to watch guys like that, because like you don't want your leading men to be that put together. Like you don't want you want them to be like a little messed up and like not be okay, so that it can allow you to love them, because they need your love. Like people that are put together and that are all okay and that are cool and everything, they don't need your love. They're going to be fine. But like guys that are messed up and angry and weird like me, like those guys, we need your attention. We need your love. Like, and so I think that's what, that's what's fun about those those guys. And so, of course, I drew on all my experience with those guys growing up.
No, that's fantastic. And then I know you've probably got a crazy full day of press, so we'll get you out of here before too long. But as far as Suicide Squad goes, that's coming out this weekend. Batman versus Superman took a bit of a hit. People were upset with it, but everybody's super excited about Suicide Squad. And then to be part of this is the way movies are now with this. This is a huge movie. There's so many huge, talented people involved in it, and you have a great role in that. Are you excited about this? Are you excited about what the future holds for your relationship with potentially this franchise? I'm not completely in it. Maybe your head gets blown off in the first scene, but as far as as far as your personal involvement,
he does have potential to go on. I mean, I worked with David before in the past. David and I did End of Watch, and he sort of wanted me to do this thing and sort of pitched it as being in the sequel that he'll sort of be a bigger deal, that we're going to establish him in this. And, I mean, I have to say, like, it's something that I do feel like is a part of our business, and I think it's probably a cool movie. I haven't seen it, to be honest. Like,
wow,
it's probably a cool movie. David's a good filmmaker. David's a really good filmmaker. He's a good writer. Script is interesting. But I didn't sort of realize the success that Stranger Things might have. So I have to say, like, going forward, I would really much rather play ordinary guys who do extraordinary things than guys with superpowers. Like, I'd really rather be a guy that you can identify with, and then watch that guy take extraordinary actions as opposed to superheroes. So, I mean, I'm sure the movie's going to be cool, and I'm sure people will like it, and I don't want to, take away from anyone's experience of that. But in terms of my career trajectory, I would love to play guys more along the lines of Hopper. I mean, I'd love to play, but I mean, then again, I mean, there was some, this is crazy, but like, I would love to update Indiana Jones. I mean, and have some love handles and be a real professor of archaeology, sitting around like grading papers all day, and then having to bust out the whip, but having like low back problems. Like, that would be a dream for me. That would be a dream.
Would you dabble with your students or no?
Oh, that's a good question. So it would be a total different, like in that scene when the woman writes love on her eyelids,
yeah,
and like Harrison Ford gets all weirded out by it. Yeah, Hopper would be like, stay after class.
We had some business to take care of.
Yeah.
Now, before we get you out of here, David, though, have you heard anything? You probably couldn't tell us if you could, but do you have an idea?
No, you got to trick him where he acts. Oh no, cut that out. We're like, no, this is our art.
Yeah, exactly.
Has Netflix anyone handed to you as to the next step for Stranger Things?
I mean, look, it's clearly been a very popular show, and Netflix tends to pick up their shows.
Right.
But we have not had official confirmation. Like, none of us have had official confirmation. So I know that the Duffers have lots of ideas, and there's lots of loose ends at the end of season 1 with the Eggo Waffle, with him getting in the car, with like Will and the sink and everything. So there are a lot of questions answered. I know that we all want to get back to these characters, and we all really want to do it. And we have not had an official word yet from Netflix. So, I mean, I will say, if fans are listening to the show, like, tweet Netflix, like, get them sick of us so we can know, and I can, like, grow my hair again.
Right. Well, we're huge fans of your work, man. Again, you did an outstanding job in Stranger Things. You've done great work in a lot of things, certainly recently. So we appreciate you taking the time out with us, Hacks, today.
Absolutely. It's David Harbour. He's in Stranger
Thank you, guys.
Things.
My pleasure.
Yeah, man. Hey, don't be a stranger. Get back on here whenever you got anything going on. We're happy to promote anything you're doing, man.
Oh, cool, man. Thanks a lot, guys.
Big thanks to David, and you can see him in Suicide Squad.
We are live, live, live. We are live, live, live. We are live, live, live.